with all the technology here. I'm a computer musician by day and family tech support by night. So that's where a lot of this inspiration came from. So we're going to talk, first we're going to talk a little bit about how to identify a scam, some of the red flags, because they constantly evolve and try different things, but these red flags tend to stay the same. Okay, so through all the things I'm talking about today, it might seem overwhelming, like you have to have the perfect password and all this stuff, but really, every step you take to secure yourself makes you less vulnerable. You really just have to be the least vulnerable person, or, less vulnerable than somebody else. Like if you're outrunning a bear, you just have to outrun your friends. All right? So every step you take to protect yourself will make a scammer less likely to target you because you will not be an easy target. So some of those steps include secure passwords, two-factor authorization, which is when you have to have a password and you get like a text message as well. So those are common with bank accounts and stuff. And I'm going to continue to define these things, so it's not just like a one slide, all right? Maintaining security updates on your devices, virus protection. So those are the main core things that we're going to talk about throughout this for you to try to incorporate into your internet and computer devices. Make sense so far? All right, so jumping right into our scams, the never-dos. All right, number one, never click on an unknown link. All right, if you don't know where the link is coming from, don't click on it. And if you hover over the link with your mouse, it will actually show its real destination, because links can be, the actual destination can be hidden in the link, It might not be where it's sending you. So if you hover over it, it'll show the actual destination before you click on it. Number two, never give personal information through a pop-up. A pop-up is like when a new window or something opens up in between your normal path. So like your bank account, when you log in, there shouldn't be a pop-up that's asking for your login information. That's going to be, it's going to be a bad website that's trying to take your information. Never send money through gift cards, all right? There's not going to be a business out there that's like, please, I can only accept gift cards. All right, so that's a pretty big red flag right there. And then, again, never sign in. So it's about never giving personal information or signing in through unknown channels. So you have your typical way of signing into your email and your typical way of signing into your bank. If something comes into you through your email or, a different channel through a text message or something like that, always revert back to what you would normally do first, because those are your trusted sources. Yeah?
When you said the example, Amazon spelled with a zero instead of an O.
Yep.
How do we know if it's a zero?
Well, part of that will be, if it came a little bit through a fishy way, through a text message and stuff. It is difficult. Zero is a little different than an O. It will look a little, it takes a fine eye, So again, all these red flags will kind of come together, And I'm going to give some examples too. The question was about the Amazon spelled with a zero instead of an O. And really my answer is just about, it's the overall context. And if you question it, go to Amazon directly and type it in yourself. That's, okay? Oh. Nice. Okay, so yeah, I'm going to elaborate a little bit on the phony website. These are some examples that you might see. So Bank of America, So if we're in a hurry, we might not notice that second F. PayPal.com.secure-site, okay? So the URL is officially secure-site.com. So they can you can put whatever you want in front of the last part of the .com if there's, enough steps, and it makes it seem like it's PayPal, but it's not. Walmart.com using a capital I instead of a lowercase l. So that is a really difficult one to tell. So that's why, as I go through these red flags, context is going to matter. When in doubt, type it in yourself and go to your more official channels. Netflix-support.net. There it is again, using a dash or some extra dot to create a phony URL with the actual brand name. And then delivery.ips instead of UPS. So they might just swap out one little letter because in a hurry we might not be paying attention. So bottom line, if you're doing anything with personal information, banking or passwords, just take an extra beat to make sure that you're signing in through your usual.
You had said that you said type it in yourself.
Yes.
In what regard?
Like in the address bar at the top. So instead of clicking on that link, if it's something that you're worried about with your Amazon account, just go and type it in your address bar directly instead of clicking the link. And okay, so now we're going on to, the context here of what somebody's going to be trying to get from you. It's called phishing, which is when somebody's impersonating an organization or somebody you know to get you to trust them. So common scams are from the government, the IRS, saying you didn't pay your taxes properly, Medicare saying you didn't pay your bills, Social Security threatening to withhold your money, or lottery, you won money. Right? Those are pretty good ones, right? You get money. Utility companies are pretty common, especially over the phone. I've known multiple people who've gotten phone calls from FPL threatening to shut off their power, and they will say that you have to go and get gift cards and send the gift cards to them. So again, FPL has their typical channels of communicating with you. Try to get used to that, what that looks like, and that'll protect you from someone else trying to impersonate them. Tech company, like somebody impersonating your bank with a pop-up window that's going to be a phony login screen. Charitable organizations. Father Phil has joked a bunch of times about getting emails from him. So scammers will go and try to identify something about you that they can target, so they might have found out that you're a parishioner here somehow, and so they'll impersonate someone you know. They'll try to make it a little personal to get your guard down. And then lastly, royalty. Everybody's heard about the Nigerian prince. He always needs money. A distant relative that you've never heard of. All of a sudden you have an inheritance from a distant uncle or something. Romantic interest. That one's becoming more common online. Someone, pretending to be in a relationship.
Sometimes those go directly into my junk mail.
Yes, they do, very often.
Things go into my junk mail, sometimes they don't. Is that because I have some kind of spyware or something?
Yes, so the question was, sometimes those emails will go directly to spam. That is your email provider successfully filtering them out because they noticed a suspicious link or a suspicious attachment. So yes, the majority of them will get caught, but sometimes they get through because they come across something personal, and sometimes they even have a legitimate Google email. One of the examples I'll show you that from a personal one for me actually had a real email.
Didn't Father Phil say somebody tried to impersonate him
Yes,
online and asking for money?
exactly, and it was through gift cards. So again, that big red flag about gift cards, because they want it to be just untraceable, easy money. All right, so here's The next red flag, there's going to be some big problem or some big prize. They want to get you like super excited or super worried about some urgent thing to get your guard down, because we don't think as rationally when we're, stressed or super excited. So medical emergency. I've even heard about people getting AI phone calls that can successfully impersonate their relatives, acting like they've been arrested or medical emergency. So unfortunately, if something like that happens, you're going to have to hang up the phone and call that person. Don't just take that phone number, okay? So unfortunately, that's one more extra level now that's becoming reality. Threatening legal action, problem with your account, so like your Amazon or your PayPal phishers are going to be telling you that there's something, your account's going to get closed, you're going to lose all your money in there or whatever you've purchased. And then the lottery one, the winning money. I have a funny example of that one later. Okay, and then there's always going to be pressure to act immediately, pretty much always, because they want to not give you a chance to think rationally about this. They don't want you to be able to contact somebody or check them out. So if you're on the phone, they're going to try to keep you on the phone and get you to react right away. They're going to threaten to, arrest or sue or have some big consequence that you're afraid of happening that you have to do right away, most of the time within, 24 to 72 hours. And then, again, just talking about paying in an unusual way. That's a really big one. You don't want to be doing money wires or a payment app like Venmo, gift cards. Any of those ones that are untraceable make it kind of obvious that it's a scam because they don't want to be able to be found. Yeah, Bitcoin. Uh-huh.
So when you get these and you realize that it probably isn't real, is the best thing to do just delete it?
Yes.
Any way to get rid of it forever? 'Cause I keep getting one that says I haven't paid my SunPass.
Mhm.
thing,
Yeah.
And you just keep getting it.
Yeah.
Trying to delete and report them?
Yes, you can report them, and so I'll say the question a little bit so everybody can hear. It was just how do you get rid of the problem, and how do you the next steps. I'll cover some of the next steps in a little bit later, but basically you can report it to the FTC. But just deleting it, ignoring it is fine, unfortunately. And I do have some steps here on how to block unknown callers and text messages so that you just won't get the ping and be bothered with the nuisance. That's really the only thing you can do.
Eric, how do I put a Bitcoin in this envelope?
I don't think the church takes Bitcoin. Okay? So yeah, we can block unwanted calls and texts, resist the pressure to act immediately, stop and talk to someone you trust. Chances are if you call someone else, they might have also been tried to scam by something similar. And do a quick internet search, type in that scenario with the word scam at the end. And chances are it will show up. All right, so now we're into some examples, and we'll kind of put all these things into context. All right? So this is an example of the government, someone impersonating the government saying your device has been hacked. All right? So impersonating a major institution, number one. The problem, your device is vulnerable. All right? So we got urgent, you've been hacked, your device is no longer your own. Major problem. Action. Click this link, right? And the link is kind of hidden, so that, again, you could hover over it, but chances are, just by those first few things, we can kind of rule out that this is not really real. And then the last nail in the coffin, the urgency, right? So the government is the government moves slow, all right? In what situation does anything with the government happen in 72 hours, am I right? So that's pretty much a no-brainer. Yep.
Susan lately has been getting stuff from Best Buy. And when we went to Best Buy, they said, that's really not us, you gotta look at it close.
It's good though.
Yeah, yeah.
Said this looks really good.
Yeah, yeah, they'll,
So, yeah, you know, you have to, they said, no, we wouldn't be doing that.
yeah. And it would probably hit some of those red flags of the urgency and the phony money. You know, Best Buy's not going to be asking for gift cards. All right, here's another example, the toll one, right? Because that's the one going around the most right now. So, again, impersonating a major organization. It's impersonating the government. The problem, unpaid tolls, threatening legal action.
It would really come in the mail, like with a letter saying.
Yes, yeah. You if your tolls.
Anything on these phones is probably not, no good.
Yeah. Yep. I mean, if you have an account with EasyPass, they might have your cell phone number, but look at the number that's coming up in the text message. It's a foreign country. All right. So. Yeah. Yes, sir.
Thing that I have done is check area codes. A lot of them come out of Canada and Toronto area.
Mm-hmm.
Check the area code. A lot of everyone that I've gotten on my text messages has been a Canadian number.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yep, checking the area code. You know, if they're saying you ran a toll in Florida and it's an area code out of Chicago or Canada or something like that, a lot of the times the scams over email or over phone number and text and stuff, there are going to be a similar phone number because you know, these organizations are located in one spot and they just send out 50,000 or you know. So it tends to be an organized group doing these kind of things. So it will often be a similar location. Yep.
Is it fair to say that these organized groups that are trying to scam us,
Mm-hmm.
they're like boiler room kind of situations? Is that a good terminology to use?
Yeah, I mean, it's going to
When
be.
you're on the phone, you hear people chattering in the background and stuff. It's like, what the hell's going on?
Yeah, it's very often organized crime. They're a group of individuals in the same building together, which is why the area code will be similar. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I think so. Yeah. But yeah, it'll be an organized group. Yep.
They tell you where to click. But I found that doing a hard shutdown is the way to escape.
Yeah. So the question was if it's hard to leave the screen that has popped up. That's probably an example that you might have some malware on your device, actually, if you can't close it. But yes, shutting it down, doing a hard reset, and then I'm going to show how to scan your computer as well and coming up. All right, so yeah, we got government, unpaid tolls, click the link, and then there's that urgency again, 48 hours. All right, this is so that last one and this are both personal to me. This one's a really funny one. So, you know, I'm a musician. It's well known online. I have a website and all that stuff that I teach music. And I started getting emails about a free grand piano. I was like, oh, man. So, you know, the first time I got one of these was quite a while ago. And I actually humored it a little bit. And this is the one that actually had a real Gmail. And they put a picture there to make it seem like a real person and everything. So I started humoring it a little bit, and I was like, yeah, what's going on? I might be interested in this. And it turned out that the scam was that I had to pay to get it moved. Now, again, I'm in an emotional state. Like, oh, yeah, that's a reasonable request. How can I expect you to pay to have it moved as well? And then the mover is a phony website. But it was even a mover with a same company name. They were based out of Tennessee. So they found a moving company out of Tennessee. They probably didn't expect me to actually separately Google that moving company, and I found that they were impersonating that movie company's website and expected me to submit money. So that's how they can find something a little bit personal about you and get your guard down.
My husband always played Publishers Clearinghouse.
Mm-hmm.
Get this thing, he won a big prize. I didn't tell him because he would have called, but
Yeah.
I called the number and the lady says, which prize was this now?
Yeah. So you called the number, they didn't know exactly who you were, exactly. A red flag. All right, so this is another personal one. This one's kind of obvious too, but it's funny. And it saying that I have won a donation of $20 million from the United Nations. So, golly gee, I don't know what I did to deserve that. So, yeah, that one is kind of just a funny example. We got a sketchy email. We got a big prize that I'm going to get if I give them my personal information, and they're going to wire it to me. That's just a way for them to get my bank info. And this one just has all of them, you know, typers and bad grammar. That was actually caught my spam filter, so you can see it's in my spam folder. But I went in there for a funny example. All right, so now we're going to talk about securing yourself. We've talked about the scams and the red flags. Now we're going to talk about securing your devices. So step number 1 is good passwords. This is your first line of defense. All right, we want a password with 8 to 12 characters, especially if it's a bank or something, or a medical account or something super important. The more characters, the better. I believe you can go up to 16 with some of these websites. And you want a mix of basically every type of character you have on your keyboard. Numbers, letters, exclamation points, all that stuff. Random mix. Apple has a built-in password generator. How many people here are using Apple devices? Can I see a show of hands? Apple, like Mac or iPhone? Uh-huh. So a good number of you. So there is a passwords app that you can use to make and save your passwords, and it's pretty secure, especially for a free built-in option. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yes, it's built into your device. Uh-huh.
Where's the best place if you don't have Apple or you don't, for whatever reason, you don't want to use that? Where's the best place to store your passwords securely?
I have some paid options. Unfortunately, if you're on Windows or Android, there's not really a good free option, but there are a couple options that are paid, which are like security overall, you know, like Bitdefender and Norton and stuff like that. They usually have password management as well. So that's the best way, because those are like encrypted services that are going to protect your passwords a lot more than, you know, if you're writing them down on a piece of paper or something. Uh-huh. Yeah, I personally don't like to save my passwords on a browser. No, I don't like to. It's just, you know, it's one. I don't think it's as secure, so I would recommend doing a third party. Mm-hmm.
What about that new thing, DuckDuckGo?
Yep, I'll get to that. DuckDuckGo is great, so I'm gonna get to that. Yeah. All right. So, and then when you change your password regularly, you know, at least once a year, if not twice a year, and don't just change it incrementally, right? So we can't go up one number, and then don't use personal information that might be, you know, leaked or hacked. We can't be using birthdays and relatives or pet names. Those are the first things that these hacker farms are going to be trying when they get your information leaked from something. And never, this is the biggest one, never use the same password on more than one site, okay? Because if one of them has a data breach, they're gonna go to all those other websites and type in that password, okay? So that's probably more important than the secure password. It's just a variety of passwords across all your sites, because data breaches happen a lot anymore, and you do not want, especially those really important accounts, again, your bank and your medical, keep those passwords different. Okay, any other questions so far? I'm going to do questions at the end as well, so it's okay. Is everybody following so far? Mm-hmm.
So where's the sandwiches?
They're in the cafe after church.
Okay, good. Thank you.
So you're saying never reuse the password.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, how do you keep all that straight?
Yeah, well, the password apps, they're going to save all of them for you, and they're using encryption, so they're pretty secure. Or a piece of paper in your house that's not online.
That's gonna be the next one down.
Yeah. Obviously, a piece of paper can't be hacked unless there's a rogue relative going for your. Yeah.
My mom keeps them under, she has, so in your contacts, she has a contact for herself, and down at the bottom there's something that says notes. She keeps them all there. Don't remember that, but
Yeah, that
is that okay?
it's not as secure, So if your passwords are on an electronic device and it's not specifically through an encrypted service like the Passwords app or these other services I'm going to recommend, it's not that secure. And if that device got compromised, it's not going to be protected by any kind of password or anything besides your login, which they probably already got. So I would. Your mom's probably using Apple too, isn't she? Yeah, so use the Passwords app. It's way more secure. If you're not going to use something like that, a piece of paper in a desk can't be hacked, all right? So even just, you were mentioning a spreadsheet, something like that on your computer, if you get a virus or a malware, that's not going to be secure either. So if it's on a digital device, it's really important that it's through a third party or service that's using encryption, because that basically means if your device is compromised, there's an extra level of security that's hiding it from that bad actor.
So if you're using this free app, Passwords app,
Mm-hmm.
do you have to toggle then between where they're asking you for the password? Do you have to go to the app and get it?
No, Apple recognizes the websites automatically, so it's very.
They'll put it right in.
Yep. The question was, if you're using the Passwords app, do you have to go and type them in? And in the Apple ecosystem, it does populate it automatically. Or, if you're not within the Apple ecosystem, you would just probably be copying and pasting it over from that service. But again, it's really important for your most vulnerable accounts, your bank and your money and your medical and stuff and your email. Those are the ones that you really have to be on guard for the most. Uh-huh.
What about when you think about like the Google, I think it's Google that does the fast pass, like on a desktop, it offers to save your passwords for accounts when you're logged into your Google user ID or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Computer. I know that that's an option to stop ringing me whenever I'm using computers. Like, what would you say about that?
Yeah, I guess Google FastPass is kind of the Google equivalent of Apple's Passwords app, so that is the free version. Google doesn't have quite the same security rating as Apple does. They're getting better. So the question was about the Google FastPass as the password protector for Android and Windows. So that is an option. That is better than just writing it on your computer. Mm-hmm.
Sometimes my Apple computer desktop tells me to save it to iCloud
Yeah.
password.
Uh-huh. That is the Passwords app.
That is the password that
Yeah,
on
yeah.
the computer.
Yes.
So it's perfectly fine.
Yes. So yeah, the Passwords app, the question was, the computer prompts you and kind of tells you it's going to go to iCloud. And basically iCloud is Apple's way of syncing all your devices. So the Passwords app will be able to show you your passwords on your phone or your iPad or your whatever Apple device you have. Does that make sense? So, yes, iCloud is encrypted as well. All right. So now that we talked about passwords, any other questions about passwords before I move on to the next subject? We're good? Okay. Now we're going to talk about security of your devices. Your computer. I'm going to start with Mac first. It's pretty straightforward. You just want to make sure that you have automatic security updates turned on. All right. So, not the operating system. I generally don't like to update to the brand new operating system for Apple. They tend to kind of move that cart really fast. So if you notice the settings I took a screenshot of, the one on the left is the first screen you're going to see when you go to this location on your computer. System settings, general, and software update. So that if you go to that location, that left screen is what you're going to see. And where it says automatic updates, and that little I, you can click on that, and that's going to take you to the screen on the right. And you see I have check for updates on, download new updates when available, and at the bottom, it's install security responses. So that makes it that my computer is automatically installing whatever security updates Apple has deemed necessary. So I'm not updating to Sequoia or Maverick or whatever new operating system that they're coming up with too soon that I don't feel like learning all the new features yet. All right, it's just the security update. Does that make sense? Okay. On Windows, Windows doesn't have a separate like security update versus their operating system, but they also don't come out with operating systems as often, so it's not really a problem. Just go to type update in your search bar, and it's going to take you to the update in your settings, and just make sure that you have automatic updates on. And that's really just going to make sure that your computer is as secure as it can be, because hackers are constantly trying to find backdoors into your computer, and the developers are constantly shutting those doors. So if you're not updating, on a fairly regular schedule, your device could be compromised from the latest security. All right, Windows also has virus protection built into it, and it's decent. So again, type security into your search bar, and that's going to show you this screen on the right. And where the shield is, that's a virus scan. There's also malware. So there's just a couple different things that you can do to check the security of your device there that you can click around on. You're not going to break anything. It's all just gives your computer a chance to make sure your device is clean. And that is free, and it's automatically in your operating system. Okay, and now any questions about Mac or Windows so far? Okay, now we'll move on to iPhone. In the settings, which is like the little gear window, it looks similar to the Mac. You go to settings, and then privacy and security. And there's a bunch of different things there that help you keep your device secure. So settings, is like the gear wheel, and then you scroll down a little bit, and it says privacy and security. And then you can see what apps are trying to get your location. You can see what apps are trying to see your photos. And then there's also a safety check feature that the phone will basically prompt you and say, like, do you want this app to have this? Do this number of apps have this access? So that safety check is actually a really cool feature that came out fairly recently, and that's in that privacy and security tab. Mm-hmm.
So I say recently, it could have been a couple years ago now. Apple came out, there's a lawsuit or something, and then when you open an app for the first time, it'll say you have a choice. It says ask app not to track.
Yes.
What is that regarding?
Basically, Apple allows you to tell apps not to track you outside of that app.
Okay.
So it wasn't actually a lawsuit against Apple. I think it was a lawsuit against Facebook or something, because they tend to be the biggest trackers. And basically, if you had an app running in the background, it could be seeing what else you're doing. So when you first install an app and it asks if it can track you or not, I always hit do not track. And again, that safety check is going to run you through that and see which apps have been granted access to track you. So that's a really awesome thing that's in the newer operating system that's worth giving a go. And if you're having trouble finding it, there is a search bar on iPhone as well. If you just, when you're on your home screen, if you swipe down, it gives you your search bar. And when you're in settings, if you just swipe down, there's a search bar as well. And you can just type in privacy and security, because Apple has a tendency to have like a bunch of sub-menus. So using that search bar comes in handy. If you just type in privacy and security, it'll show up.
Are cookies the same,
It's not the same. They are used to track you, but I'm going to get to that next. Okay? Yeah. And then that's also in settings is where you can block your unknown calls and texts. So again, go into settings, and then apps, and then phone. And in that, there's a setting to silence unknown callers. And again, if you're getting lost in all those things that you have to navigate to get there, just use the search bar and type in phone, and it should show up where you can customize what the phone app is going to do. You have options for caller ID, and you have options to block unknown people and scan calls. That's all within there.
Last question, but it's super relevant. I wrote it down earlier. When you get a text like the SunPass one everybody's been getting, if you hit report, does that automatically block that number?
No.
No.
But
so you have to block them first, then report?
I would report first and then block.
Okay.
Yes. So yeah, in addition, in that phone app, and you can block numbers. So that's where you would do that. The question was, how do you block the number of a bad actor? And it's in that same settings, apps, phone, and there will be another option to block a number. And also within where you see the number, when it shows up in your missed calls, there's a little eye. You can tap on that, and you can block it from there as well. Yes, on iPhone. Unfortunately, I'm an iPhone user, so I don't have as many tips for Android, but I believe you can block unknown callers with them as well. Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Correct. So you're just going to, my next slide, well, 2 more slides. I am going to talk about Android a little bit. So just give me 1 second, all right? So all that making sense for our iPhone users? All right. This is kind of what the screens look like that you'll land on. So, it'll say privacy and security at the top, and there's your different things you can check on, the safety check. You can turn on a sensitive content warning so that you don't accidentally stumble upon things you don't want to see. Analytics and improvements, you can see what's tracking you and what kind of analytics are being sent from your phone, and turn on Apple Privacy Report. So those are all things that are really helpful to see what your phone is doing in the background. And then on the far right there is the call blocking and identification and the different choices you have within that phone setting. Good? All right. Now Android. So I believe this is partially what you were talking about, sir. They have a settings app as well, and privacy, and the permission manager. Okay, so within that, you can keep track of what apps are trying to access your location and your camera and your microphone. So those are important things to keep track of, because that's kind of the biggest weakness with mobile devices is, it's kind of easy to accidentally give access to an app that you downloaded. A lot of these freemium games are kind of sketchy developers that are getting access to your microphone or your camera and your location. So just be wary of that, and that's the place to check on Android. Okay? All right, now I'm going to start just talking about online. Okay, so this is universal across whatever device you're using. If you are using a browser, these things will apply. All right? So cookies. are little bits of data that are stored on your computer and on another server so that when you go to a website, it remembers you. And then there's trackers, which are like, the biggest known ones are like Facebook and Google that track you across whatever you're doing to try to sell you stuff, basically. They just want to know everything about you so that they can sell your data to advertisers. And then search engines. Everybody knows Google. Somebody brought up DuckDuckGo earlier. That's my personal favorite. So I'm going to get into what all these things are coming up next after this commercial break. All right. So on the right here, I have 5 examples of why cookies are good. Because it is okay to have some of your cookies on for the website you are actually using. All right. So I try to block third-party cookies so that whatever website I'm on, I'm able to, save login details or save your shopping cart, remember your preferences. These are all the things that cookies do that are actually helpful. So they're not all bad. It's just like regular cookies, too much of them is a bad thing. All right, so this is how to control your cookies and privacy within different browsers. All right, so if you're on iOS or Apple, chances are you're using Safari a lot. If you go into Settings and Advanced, you can turn on privacy settings, and you can block the cookies, and you can change your browser, your search engine to DuckDuckGo. That's my search engine of choice because it is the most private. It doesn't sell your searches and your data to third parties. So that's what I use 99% of the time, and like that 1% where I'm like searching for a restaurant or something more location specific, or I might use Google for that. So I still use Google sometimes, but most of the time I prefer to use DuckDuckGo. So within the settings, you can set DuckDuckGo to be your default. So anytime you are searching, it will just automatically go to DuckDuckGo. So that makes sense? So that's what it kind of looks like for Safari. I'm going to do a couple other recommended browsers coming up next. Any questions? All right. Firefox. So for Android users, Firefox is a good choice. It works on all platforms, so this is universal to everybody now. It's a really good browser. It has some good privacy settings in it. And same thing, we're just going to go to the settings. And you see on the far left there, the 2 settings I'm going to be talking about are search and privacy and security. All right? So under search, the same thing, we're going to set our default search engine to DuckDuckGo. And then in the privacy, on the right image, you can set your cookies to block third parties. So Firefox is a little better than Safari in that you can customize what kind of cookies you are blocking. So that way, whatever site you are on is getting its usual functionality, but you're not getting those excess cookies from other places you may have been or may not even have been trying to get data on you. And then also under privacy and security for Firefox, if you scroll down, there's enable DNS over HTTPS. So I don't need to go into a deep definition of what this is, but basically it gives Firefox the ability to confirm that what you're going to is a legitimate website. It's basically a virtual handshake of like, I acknowledge this is the real thing. All right, so that's something that you can turn on in Firefox as well. And then Firefox also has some third-party add-ons. The one's called the Privacy Badger that helps block trackers. The Facebook container, because Facebook is notorious for being everywhere. Facebook is Big Brother. This video is going to get taken down because I said that. So there's the Facebook container, and clear URLs is basically removing tracking elements. So those are 3 free add-ons to Firefox that give you another level of security as well. And then lastly, DuckDuckGo is also a browser. So the browser is like what you're using to go anywhere on the internet. And the search engine is what you're using to, look up something that you might not know where you're headed. Does that kind of make sense? The two different things? So so your browser is like the window that opens up. So like when you first open up any website, the browser is what's hosting it. Okay, a search engine is specifically a website that helps you search for other websites. Is that a better definition? Okay. So DuckDuckGo is also a browser. So you can download their browser, which honestly, in my opinion, is the most secure. Everything I've just talked about is basically its default setting. So there's not really that much to worry about. So you can download DuckDuckGo, the browser, the search engine is the default, the blocking third-party cookies is its default, all those things. So it's a really great, simple option that I like to use. And that, again, is available for any device, mobile, Android, Apple. So Firefox and DuckDuckGo are my two best suggestions, in my opinion. I don't think that, some of the other options, I'm not going to name drop, but I think those are the most private options available today. All right, so I had mentioned that there are third-party services that you can subscribe to maintain your privacy online. I've narrowed it down to my two favorites. One is Aura, and it basically helps keep you safe online. It monitors your credit. It monitors your information to see if it's on, the dark web, which is a real thing. And it does the password generator. If you have kids and stuff, you can also sign them up, and it helps you keep them safe on gaming platforms and on the internet and see what they're doing. So it's a really great service. Antivirus, spam call protection. You can kind of see the list of their main things there on the left. And then my second recommendation is Bitdefender. Out of the two, Bitdefender is the most secure. They have the best reputation. I think Aura is a little more user-friendly, so it's just up to you to shop and compare prices and stuff. They're both good companies and good choices for solving all these problems. And that's pretty much it. And then if you want to take a picture of this is a couple of websites where I've put together some of this information. The FTC is a good place to try to report things and find out information on the latest scams. And the FBI obviously has a place to go to further keep yourself updated on what's going on. Because, there's always a new latest scam. And especially with AI and stuff like that, we have to be a little extra vigilant. Like I mentioned before, like the phone call, they can impersonate the voice of people you know. So it's super important to make sure that you are maintaining that typical channel of communication. That's what scammers are trying to break and fan off into an alternate dimension that looks eerily similar, but not quite the same. All right? Any questions? I have a handheld mic too. We can. Would you be so kind?
I've been getting a lot of calls about add-ons to Medicare. I've been getting I get like 6 phone calls a day. And I'm trying to block them, and blocking doesn't work.
Yeah, they usually change like one number at a time or something.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, besides these channels, there's not a whole lot you can do. There is like a do not call list that you can submit yourself to that I believe is through the FTC, and that helps get you removed. But unfortunately, once your information is leaked, it's on the dark web and it's really hard to get it removed. So the only things you can really do is block unknown callers. And that's going to remove all of that. Just if you're using the block unknown callers, make sure that you have saved your typical like doctor numbers and stuff like that, because they might accidentally get silenced. But that's what I do to try to ignore them, because that's unfortunately the only defense we have is to ignore and.
Okay, thanks.
Uh-huh.
I found out on Realtor.com, because I'm looking for a home. When you're looking, it says, call this number if you're interested or something, and click on this. So I did, and I got hundreds of calls every day, and I read the fine print, and down at the very bottom it says, if you click this, you will get unsolicited calls, and do not call will not help you no matter what.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
don't do it.
Unfortunately.
Go down further if you're looking for the realtor. It's down further.
Yeah. That's actually an example of a legitimate spam, unfortunately. But that's things that websites
Go
will do.
further and not get that. Oh man.
And since you clicked on that link, you basically gave them permission to sell your information to all those interested people. It's still, don't click a link. I mean, that's an example where she was on a website that she actually wanted to be on, but you have to be careful. If you don't want to be contacted more than you already are, just be hesitant about any link you click on, because yes, they can put in the fine print that you were agreeing to third parties contacting you.
When you use that unsubscribe, click on that. Is that legit, or does that just propagate it further to?
No, the click to unsubscribe is a legitimate, federally mandated thing. If you unsubscribe, if they contact you again, I'm pretty sure it's pretty hard to sue anybody, but that's for something so little without substantial, money loss to be proven or anything. But yes, those do not subscribe, click to unsubscribe buttons at the bottom of an email are legitimate if it's a legitimate source. So if it's a subscription email from Best Buy or something like that, so that's where the hover over the link, can be helpful to make sure you're not clicking on a link to a weird site, or you can go to that actual account and unsubscribe in there. So anybody with an account that you're subscribed to is legally required to have an unsubscribe. So you could go directly to the account as well.
So on my Apple computer, I've been getting software updates, and it wants me to enter my password. Don't they, is that right? I mean, I don't
Yes.
even know when I read these updates, I have no idea what they're saying to me. So I don't know if I should do it or if I shouldn't do it.
Yes, they do usually ask for your password.
They actually should do
Yeah,
any of the updates, because
yes.
on your cell phone, they don't, do they?
Yeah, it asks for your
They ask
code.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
So it's going to ask for your password. If you're unsure, just go to the channel, do it manually. Whenever in doubt, do it manually through your settings or your account. Because again, if you're worried about a pop-up, that's definitely one of the red flags. Don't use the pop-up. Go directly to another way of doing it.
And I've been getting one that's telling me to update my payment information. I mean, don't you have my payment?
That's probably because do you have a subscription, like Apple
I guess I
TV
have
and
the
stuff?
Well, on my Apple computer, I guess I have some things on there that I pay for.
Yeah. So if you have subscriptions through your Apple account,
But don't
that is
they
legitimate
have
as well.
that? Like, why are they asking?
If one of your credit cards is going to expire.
Maybe.
So I have gotten one of those messages
I
before.
had that for a while, and then all of a sudden it disappeared.
Um,
So that was scary.
Uh-huh.
One day I was going to do it, when I felt secure enough to do it.
Yeah.
But then all of a sudden it was gone. And I said, now it doesn't want my payment information anymore?
So again, that's a very good point. So I would maybe try, if you're going to get like Bitdefender or Aura, you can do a virus scan first, because that could be a sign of a malware trying to impersonate the device. Especially since it went away. That does seem a little fishy, so that's one of the red flags. So again, just don't do it through that pop-up. Find another way of doing it that you are manually controlling it through sources that you trust. Okay? Yep.
My computer, I've got a not an Apple. I have Microsoft, or I
Yeah.
think it's Microsoft Edge comes up.
Uh-huh.
Is that a good, or do you gotta get
That's
rid
the
of that?
browser that comes default on Windows.
Yeah.
I recommend DuckDuckGo or Firefox.
So how do you get rid of it?
You can delete it the same way you do any other app. If you go in the search bar, you type in remove, and it'll go to your setting, in the settings, remove unwanted apps. And that's how you can delete it from your computer. It's not doing any harm. All you really need to do is download DuckDuckGo or Firefox and set them as your default.
Set them as a default.
Yeah, and then Edge just won't be used.
Now, you said Firefox.
yes.
I don't like Google Chrome. I had problems with it years ago, and
Mm-hmm.
I don't get on that.
Yeah.
So how do you, when I go on Microsoft Edge, it downloads MSN or whatever that is.
MSN.
It comes up in a home screen and all
Yeah,
that.
that's just the home screen for Edge. That won't show up anymore on Firefox. That's just your default home page is all that is. That would also be another thing that you could change in the settings of Edge or whatever browser you're using. Your whatever screen shows up when you first open your browser is set as your default. Most of them set Google as the default, but that's again something that when you go to the settings. I believe it's under Home or General. You can set the landing page. It's called whatever opens when you first go on the internet. So you can set that to whatever you're typically doing. What you're typically doing is searching for something. You can set it to your search engine. What you're typically doing is banking. You can set it to Wells Fargo or whatever, just to save you the step of going another. But Edge does set the default to MSN. Because they want you there, so Microsoft makes advertising.
If I get rid of Edge, who do I replace it with? DuckDuckGo?
Yeah, DuckDuckGo or Firefox. If you type either of those into your
This says Firefox. That's
Yeah.
a browser.
Yes.
DuckDuckGo is a browser,
they are both browsers.
and Edge is a browser?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
DuckDuckGo is the outlier in that it's a search engine as well. So that's the one that's both.
So if I get rid of Edge, am I going to lose a lot of stuff that I got in there, or what?
If you have a lot of saved tabs and stuff, like your bookmarks, yeah, you would lose them. I mean, there is a way to import them into a new browser. Do you have a lot of bookmarks and stuff?
I have quite a few.
Yeah, but if you don't want to change from Edge, it's going to be a similar process of going in settings, and they do have some ability to tailor the cookies and stuff. It's just not quite as good as Firefox and DuckDuckGo. So that would be my suggestion, is to still just go into the settings of your Edge and look for, privacy in general and
Look for what?
privacy.
Yeah.
And when I'm done, I can load it up for you and show you what it would look like.
Would you have those PowerPoint, would you be able to send that or no?
Yeah, and this has been recorded too.
Okay.
So it's going to be on the church's website if you want to refer back to it.
Yep.
I believe we had a sign-up sheet
Yeah, we did.
in the back. Did people put their contact info on that? I'll get with them and I can send out a link as well.
A legit link, right?
Yes, a legit link. This was solicited.
Can you go, again, for an Android, how do you go from private and security, and then how do you get into the search engine?
So you're in your settings of your device,
Yes.
not the browser. So that's going to set the privacy settings of your device. The settings for your browser is going to be within the app settings.
Where do you find that?
Yeah, I can take a look for you after. Yeah, within settings, all the apps that you've downloaded will show up. So within settings, you scroll down until Firefox or Edge or whatever browser you're using is there, and you click on that, and that's where those other settings are going to show up. Yeah, so that's pretty universal between Android or iOS. It's settings, and then look for the app that you're trying to customize, and that's where those settings are going to show up. Uh-huh.
I have a specific question, maybe after you can show me.
Uh-huh.
I brought my computer with me. It has to deal with email and moving some of the email. It's not,
Okay.
oh, can
All
I
right.
ask you later?
Yeah, yeah.
Somebody said we could ask you.
Yeah, I can do a couple more personalized questions. So I think we're in a good place. Everybody good? All right. Thank you.